And we're live. Hello, everybody. My name is Colleen Francioli. You may know me as the founder of FODMAP Life. I am very excited because today we have a very special guest. And as you might have been seeing, we've been having Facebook Lives almost every month now with a new expert. And what we're basically covering for the most part is IBS and gut health and the low FODMAP diet. And a topic that's really important that a lot of people seem to want to know more about is constipation. So today, my guest, if you don't know her already, you will soon. Her name is Kate Scarlata. She's a registered dietitian, master of public health. She is based out of Boston. She is a guru in the space of the low FODMAP diet, gut health, IBS. She speaks at conferences worldwide from Monash University and even Harvard Medical School. She's involved in so many different things, and she works out of her Boston office and works with not only people like you and me with IBS, but she works with dietitians as well. So she's a fantastic resource, brain, if you will. And I've always appreciated her approach to gut health. It's just very easy, casual, and very helpful, insightful. And she truly cares about the people that she works with, and that comes out in her social media. So you'll see in her social media profiles at Kate Scarlata on Instagram, you'll see a lot of her recipes and tidbits of really useful information. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kate right here, and you can go ahead and take it away, Kate.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be here today. So I wanted to talk about constipation because, quite honestly, in my private practice, I would say the majority of patients that I see are women, and the majority also have constipation. So it is a big time problem globally. About 14% of people suffer with constipation. I think it's important to know it's not about pooping every day. It's finding what works for your body and what's normal for your body. So some people might poop 3 times a week, and some people might poop every day. If you're pooping every day and then all of a sudden you're pooping only twice a week, that's more cause for concern, and to discuss, not that it's a concern, but just to talk with your GI doctor or your primary care doctor about this change in bowel habits so that they can explore whether it's a colonoscopy or just rule out other problems that may be contributing to this. So in general, constipation sort of follows 2 primary paths. One of them is that your colon is just slow. It doesn't move things through quickly. And the other sort of problem that is very common is sort of like what we would call a defecation disorder, or dysnergic defecation, pelvic floor dysfunction, where the muscles and nerves in your rectum and your pelvic floor just are not coordinating, aren't working together to really help you have a normal bowel movement. And that is really quite surprisingly common. Women are twice as more likely to have constipation. And there's also importance definition between primary constipation, which would be like a slow transit, or that may result in just not eating enough fiber, being sedentary. And then there's secondary constipation, which can occur with opioid use, different antihypertensive medications, and also certain conditions like hypothyroidism, diabetes, different things that kind of can affect the motility of your intestine. The other thing that I think is really important for women, really all of us, to know is if you're not fueling your body adequately, you're not fueling your muscles and your pelvic floor adequately. And so undernutrition and not eating enough can really also contribute to being constipated as well. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I know you're going to see this sort of backwards, but this is what we call the Bristol stool chart. Choose your poo. And you can see the Bristol stool chart there's numbers from 1 to 7. 1 is when your poop looks more like little deer pellets. That means that your body is really slowly transiting the stool. It's very, very slow. Where number 7 is very liquidy. And that means that everything's going through your colon very quickly. Not enough time for the water to get absorbed. And so if stool is sticking in your colon for too long, hanging around and not eliminating in the toilet, the body's just going to keep pulling out water, pulling out more water, pulling out more water, and then the stool becomes very hard and more difficult to pass. So a couple lifestyle things that you want to take into consideration, and that is that you're eating a variety of different types of fiber and plants. You don't want to be eating the same brown rice breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You want to have a variety of different plant sources. Fiber is sort of a catch-all term, and it incorporates a number of different types of fibers. There's the fiber that's in think of like the skin of fruits and vegetables. That tends to be very insoluble, and it'll add a little bulk to the stool. The flesh of your fruits and vegetables tends to be more soluble, and that can sometimes soften stool and sometimes can cause a little more gas. But a nice mix of those types of fibers can be helpful for most people. Fiber supplements can also be used, but I'm a food first person. In IBS, the fiber supplement with the most evidence to work is Psyllium Husk. And you can get that as a brand name Consul or Metamucil. So that would be the first line. I know most of Colleen's followers at FODMAP Life and mine are IBS patients. So if that is your diagnosis and you want to try fiber, I would discuss the potential to use Psyllium Husk. So I did talk briefly about pelvic floor disorders, and I think I really want to just emphasize this is a very common condition where people are not relaxing the anal sphincter enough. They're actually tightening it, where it's contributing to inability really for you to empty the stool. It stays in. There was a great article that I retweeted. So if you're following me on Twitter, and I suggest you do, I retweeted an article done just recently at Harvard Medical School with Judy Nee, and it talks specifically about pelvic floor disorders. Pelvic floor disorders are common cause of constipation and are treated with pelvic floor physical therapy. There's some testing that needs to be done to determine if this is a problem for you and contributing to your constipation. So those tests usually involve a test called an anal manometry, a balloon expulsion test. They're not particularly fun to undergo. I haven't personally had them. They can be a little embarrassing, so you want to understand what that testing requirement is, so you're going in with your eyes wide open. What I will tell you is pelvic floor physical therapy and biofeedback is effective in about 80% of those that have pelvic floor disorders. So you can really get ahead of this constipation quite significantly. It is a really great tool, and it lasts generally, you get physical therapy, it lasts for about 2 years, and then you may need some refresher to kind of help retrain how to relax that anal sphincter, which contributes to the constipation. The other thing that I can't emphasize enough here is listening to your body. If you have a shy colon, and I have a tendency to have a shy colon, you still need to go to the bathroom when you have the urge, whether you're out on the road, you're in a grocery store. If you're not listening to your body and you retain that stool, it's just going to get drier and it's going to be more difficult to eliminate. Another thing that you can think about to try to ease going to the bathroom and really kind of help just with elimination is a Squatty Potty. And a Squatty Potty you can buy at Bath and Bed, what is it? Bath and Beyond, Bed Bath and Beyond, and Target, and even online. The Squatty Potty raises your knees a little bit so that it allows, instead of your rectal canal, which is kind of C-ish, it kind of elongates it. And that allows for easier elimination of stool as well. So a Squatty Potty is something else that can be really helpful. What I find to be a big problem in my teachers and my nurses is that they're not listening to, I'm moving backwards, they're not listening to their urge, or they're not allowing enough time in the morning to have a cleansing bowel movement. They're retaining stool, they feel bloated and crampy and gassy all day. So I can't emphasize enough, like, strategizing your morning schedule to give yourself enough time to really have a cleansing bowel movement. Some people find a little caffeine can be helpful. Warm liquids can stimulate the gut, the colon, to kind of release stool as well. So that can be really helpful. From other lifestyle measures, and I'm going to get into a little bit more with fiber, but some other lifestyle measures is adequate water. I'm practicing what I preach. So always have your water and hydrate, especially if you're increasing fiber in your diet. That's really important. Keeping moving. So, walking where you're actually somewhat jarring motions can really help kind of stimulate your gut motility. So if you have a desk job and you're sitting around all day, that's not going to stimulate a bowel movement. So make sure that even you set your watch, your phone to remind you to get up and walk across to deliver a meal, a letter, or do something so you keep moving and taking a little bit of break when possible, during the day, just to keep moving. Someone asked me about the physical therapy. I just want, before I lose that on the feed, it's pelvic floor physical therapy and biofeedback. And that is very helpful. It's a specialized physical therapy. I have a number of blogs on pelvic floor physical therapy featuring a wonderful pelvic floor physical therapist named Jenna Leader. And you can consider checking those out as well on my blog. You just have to look up pelvic floor physical therapy Scarlata and you'll see it in your Google. Easy. Okay, I also wanted to mention kiwi fruit, because kiwi fruit can be very helpful. There's science to back its use. The green kiwi fruit is better for constipation than the golden, just so you know, and it's 2 kiwi fruit a day. So green kiwi fruit 2 a day. What I do, because I'm a believer in this, is I get one of those big buckets of kiwi fruit. I peel it. You don't have to. You can wash it and freeze it. But I freeze my kiwi fruit and I throw it into a smoothie. So I have a smoothie that I call the Clean Sweep smoothie that I designed with really good ingredients to kind of get that gut going. So buy your kiwi fruit when you can, get it on sale, peel it if you want to, freeze it, and then throw 2 right into a smoothie or divide it up. I prefer it in smoothies. It's really tangy and I like it. It adds a little tang to my smoothies. So that's really helpful. There's also some evidence that probiotics may be helpful in constipation. Probably the 2 that I recommend the most is the probiotic that's in Activia yogurt. If you're a FODMAPper, be careful with the Activia products because some have different ingredients that would definitely have FODMAPs in them. But the regular vanilla Activia should be okay. It will have some lactose in it. If you're kind of beyond the elimination phase, you could try that with a lactate pill. 2 of those Activia vanilla yogurts are shown to decrease bloating, increase stool frequency, and actually reduce overall discomfort. So the Activia is one that you could try. There's also a probiotic, and it was just in one study, but interestingly, individuals with a condition called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which just in brief is when there's a greater number of bacteria in your small intestine and the symptoms mimic IBS, those with an elevated methane level, that methane gas is associated with constipation. And when the methane is reduced by antibiotics or by probiotics, a particular strain, which I'll tell you about in 2 seconds, the bowel movement frequency increased. So we know more methane, more constipated, less methane, less constipated. So I did write that down because I am not, I don't memorize it. It's L-reuteri, so it's a Lactobacillus reuteri probiotic. Biogeza is one of the brands, and I don't want to disrupt our little Facebook Live, so I'll get that exact formulation and Colleen can pop that up for you. So the other important thing is in constipation, a lot of people are just really full of poop and need to, they're adding fiber as a way to kind of, you know, add bulk to their stool, but they already are just so full of stool. So if you feel like you haven't had adequate bowel movements and everything you eat is seemingly bothering you, you might want to talk to the doctor about an ultrasound or an x-ray of your belly just to see if you have a lot of fecal loading, or we would call that a high stool burden. Because once you're so full of stool, it's going to impact your quality of life, your ability to eat foods. You'll always feel kind of behind the game, as so to speak. So I think it's really important that you know, you have that assessed if you really feel like you're not emptying. So I thought that I would provide that little background, just a couple tips to kind of keep things going. And then I wanted to answer the questions that we had. So we had several questions which were fabulous. So I'm going to get started with those. Just going to check and see. I got the physical therapy. Let's see, water. Yes, I think we're good. Oh, comment on a redundant colon. Some people just have sort of these lots of like an elongated colon or sort of loops. It does seem like they're more prone to constipation. Treating it can really vary person to person. So I would look at it, you know, is it probably a risk factor? Probably does contribute a little bit. There are people though that have redundant colons and have no major constipation. So I think it's a matter of just keeping things regular, as regular as you can. And I'm going to talk about regularity a little bit and along with the questions that we have. To get started, the first question is, why do I not go for 2 to 3 days and then I go anywhere up to 10 times a day, which leaves me exhausted? This is actually not that common, and it's sort of, it's like your body is full of stool, almost like if you have a menstrual period and you're a woman and you're shedding that lining. Your body is so full of stool, it wants to shed it, and it gets so encumbered by the stool that on that day 3, it's like, we're getting this out. This may present with cramping and multiple bowel movements on day 3, like it did in this particular patient. Sometimes it presents with what we call overflow diarrhea. So patients are constipated, they don't have a bowel movement, 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 and then on day 5, they literally have overflow diarrhea around their constipated stool. We see that a lot, and it's that oozing of the stool around their constipated colon that is the most distressing to them, and they think it's diarrhea, and it is diarrhea, but the underlying problem is that they're not moving their bowels regularly. So we can see a little bit of that. So my answer to your question is really to work with your GI to come up with a better bowel regimen. It may be that 3 days of not going is just not working for you, and that you might have a day where you miss having a bowel movement, but the next day you need some kind of bowel laxative, Miralax, a little magnesium, senna, something that you can work with your physician into getting into a pattern, not something that you maybe have to rely on daily, although some people do. There's a number of reasons, diet alone won't work. It's okay if you have to rely on a laxative. The bottom line is we want to make you feel better and help you eliminate. So it sounds like to me that you're probably building up too much stool, and then on that day 3 or 4, your body's working really hard to get rid of it. And if you could get rid of it a little bit more effectively on those earlier days, that won't happen. The next question was, why can I go twice a day for a week, then not go, or go a little bit for 4 days? I think so much of us, certainly as a dietitian and with the clients that I work with, we're so focused on, my diet hasn't changed. Why is this happening to me? When it comes to our gut, there's a lot of factors beyond diet that play a role. And it could be that, you had on the weekends, you were having normal bowel movements because you had a slow flow to the morning. You could sit around, drink your coffee, you're relaxed, you have plenty of time to go to the bathroom. And then, geez, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you've got to leave at 6, you barely had breakfast, and you're buzzing out the door. So it could be that. It could be hormones. Different hormones can contribute to slugging down the gut. It could be stress. Stress can reduce, depending on what's going on, can affect a reduction in motility in your gut as well. You could be more sedentary on those days. So be thinking about things beyond just the diet. I think that that's really, really important. And someone's commenting, with using Linzess, and there are some pharmaceutical medications that have both pull water into the intestine and also help move the intestine, and those work well for some people and don't work well for others. So again, it could be that there's something else going on, like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth with methane, or perhaps a pelvic floor dysfunction, that dysnergic defecation where the muscles and the nerves are just not working well together, so you're not eliminating everything. When those muscles and nerves aren't working very well and you're adding a lot of water, like say with the magnesium or even Miralax, you're adding water into the intestine, it softens the stool, but sometimes the elimination and the relaxation of the sphincter is not there, so you just feel even worse and more distended. So addressing, again, that dysfunction of the nerves and the muscles first, and then you might need a little low-grade laxative periodically when you get into trouble, but really addressing the dysnergic defecation or that sort of dysfunction, pelvic floor dysfunction. You can kind of use those somewhat interchangeably. What are the best foods to eat to help get things moving? So really just depends on your food tolerance. So if you're very sensitive to sorbitol containing foods, if you're FODMAP sensitive, prunes probably not a good idea. However, some of my patients are not that sensitive to sorbitol and prunes, and a couple prunes a day are the magic ticket. If fermentable carbohydrates like FODMAPs are really problematic for you, they cause a lot of pain and cramping, adding some fiber with oats, cooked oats, or chia seeds, and spreading the fiber out throughout the day with adequate water can be really quite helpful for people. You don't necessarily, a lot of people will say, oh, I feel better on a low fiber diet. And they might, because they're so full of poop and we don't want to add more bulk to what's already bulked up. But ultimately, for gut health, we want to have a variety of fibers added to the diet, and we might put you on a little bit of a low fiber diet for a couple days while we're cleaning you out, and then titrate up a variety of fibers once your colon's kind of clear of that excess stool. So other things to keep you moving, again, I'm a big fan of kiwi fruit. It's low FODMAP and delicious in my clean sweep smoothie. Other soluble fibers that tend to be well tolerated are low in FODMAPs, the oats, oat bran, chia seeds, and even a little bit of canned lentils and chickpeas can work for people within the FODMAP limits. And always remember that diet's only a piece of the pie. So adequate bowel movements, taking time in the morning, moving, water, deep, cleansing breaths, not holding every ounce of tension in your stomach like I do. Don't do that. Okay, next question. Is there a way to balance constipation and diarrhea? Probably first and foremost, psyllium husk would be something I would try because again, you can get this as consul. It actually absorbs excess water, so can help with diarrhea, but also can soften stool, so can help with constipation. If it's this constipation for 3 days followed by diarrhea, I would talk to your GI doctor about overflow diarrhea to see if this underlying constipation is what's really your problem. And then once we get you regular, the overflow diarrhea just goes away because it doesn't have to happen. Another question that came in, why do I get better transit with no fiber at all? And I kind of touched upon this. It could be the type of fiber that you're adding. So the skins of fruits and vegetables, wheat bran, those just tend to not be ideal for people with constipation. Maybe trying chia seeds and oats and cooked oats as alternatives. Let's see. Why does my body go through phases of being regular when my diet doesn't change? And again, diet is only a piece of the pie here. So it could be stress, it could be busier schedule and not listening to your body and eliminating when you really needed to eliminate. Hormones, a number of different factors that could occur. And I'm looking at, let's see, my last breath test revealed high amounts of methane in my colon. Do you think water kefir is a good way to restore balance? We have no evidence that that's helpful in methane positive, using just a kefir or any probiotic is helpful necessarily in methane outside of that L-reuteri. I know Align is a common probiotic, and that's actually been shown to increase methane levels. So you really want to work with your registered dietitian that has information on the science specific to the type of probiotic that you want to use to assess if there's research that shows that that helps that condition. So in other words, if someone came to see me and had constipation, and that was their primary problem, and they were really troubled by the constipation, and they wanted to try a probiotic, I would be looking through the research to find a probiotic that has evidence to support its use in constipation, meaning there's science that shows it helps people that are constipated. And I would also want to know what dose they used in that study so that I could instruct my patient on that specific dose. Probiotics, you can't just say, oh, you have a probiotic. That probiotic might actually constipate. Align is associated with increasing methane. So who knows what that's going to do necessarily for you. I think probiotics are a little bit overused, and I would suggest, that you use them with caution. If they're not helping you after a month, then, they're probably not helping you and you're wasting your money. Activia is a specific bifidobacteria animalis with a specific strain, and that is shown to help with constipation. That L-reuteri, which I'll get the number for you, is shown in one study, which isn't strong data, but in one study to reduce methane and increase bowel movement frequency. So those would be probiotics that I would consider for someone with constipation, rather than just saying water, kefir, or kombucha is going to help. We don't have data for that. So I think I kind of ran through the questions that I intended to read, and I know we were planning on keeping this around 30 minutes. So I'm just going to look. Let's see. Can you comment about magnesium supplementation for constipation? Well, first of all, with magnesium, I would definitely, I always work with the physician on dosing, but sometimes I'll use just a little magnesium citrate in my patients. You want a magnesium that's poorly absorbed, actually, because when it's poorly absorbed, it'll pull water into the gut. Pulling water into the intestine is not necessarily the goal for someone with that pelvic floor dysnergia, sort of that dysnergic defecation, where the muscles and nerves are not relaxing or working appropriately. But it would be helpful in someone with a slow moving colon, slow transit constipation. Again, I don't recommend anyone just go out and get magnesium and do this on your own. Always run by these recommendations specifically by your gastroenterologist or primary care doctor. I'm not offering medical advice because I don't know your whole history. Just, suggestions for questions to follow up, certainly with your doctor. Fiber can interact with some medications, so we typically tell patients that if they're on medications, to take the medications at a different time than their fiber supplement. That's just being cautious, so a good 2 to 3 hour differential between medication and fiber supplements. And I don't know that much about slippery elm. I can tell you that a lot of the herbs are like probiotics, are poorly regulated. So I can't really comment on that. I haven't used it in clients and haven't really looked at the data. So I'm sorry, I can't really answer that particular question. All right, is that good?
That's pretty good, I think. I think that's pretty awesome. That was a mouthful for sure. That's awesome. And what we can do also, it's a good thing. What we can do also is, by the way, Kate and I were having a little bit of fun before we started this Facebook Live event, so we were having some laughs. But what I can do actually after this is within the next 24 hours, I can write up a blog post, go back and mention all the things that Kate said in the broadcast today within the blog post, like the different tips that she gave for constipation, and then her answers to some of the questions. She'll give me the link to that. What was it? It was a probiotic, right, that you were talking about?
Yeah, I will definitely. I'm going to give you a few links. So the Clean Scoop smoothie is a really great smoothie to try. I'm also going to connect you to that Harvard, although if you're following me on Instagram, I did put that pelvic floor dysfunction article in my stories today. So that's just at Kate Scarlata on Instagram. But that's easy for Colleen to grab as well and include. And then the L-Reuteri, that specific probiotic that in one study was shown to reduce methane gas and increase bowel frequency. I will get that link as well in that study, just for anyone that wants to take a look at it. Again, one study does not mean this is an evidence-based science. You always have to remember we need multiple studies to really show for sure that something is science-based. But it is interesting, and maybe since we don't have a lot for methane positive SIBO, maybe just another something to try in your toolbox.
Great. And then one last thing that I want to mention today is, again, thank you very much, Kate, for doing this today. This is very exciting. And I know a lot of people were very much looking forward to it. We're very excited about it. This is invaluable tips and advice. So we really appreciate it. And also to mention that our sponsor today was Orgran, and they have a line of different pastas and baking mixes and crackers and crisp breads, really healthy products, very nutritious, and really great brand, located out of Australia. So you can see one of their products here. Certified low FODMAP by the FODMAP friendly program in Melbourne, Australia. So a brand like Orgran and other brands, you can look these up on the FODMAP friendly food program's website, as well as Menash's website or Menash's app. And they will often add more products that have been certified low FODMAP. So I always like to check that out like every couple weeks or so to see what new products have been certified. And you can also look at them by country too. So for like the FODMAP friendly food program, you can look, okay, which products are certified in the US, in the UK, Canada, etc. So a really, these products are really great when you're following the diet. When I started the diet in 2013, there were no certified products back then, right?
Yeah.
And we made like everything from scratch. But now, if you look online, you'll see snacks, you'll see sauces, you'll see pasta sauces, simmer sauces, snack bars, fiber supplements. I mean, you name it, protein supplements. So there's a lot out there for your disposal. And the psyllium husk that Kate was talking about, I use psyllium husk. I think it's called India Earth or Earth India. I have to look it up, but it's in its purest form. It's really good. And again, I will drop those links into the blog post, and I'll share the link to the blog post right under this broadcast here. But again, thank you, Orgran, for being the sponsor today for this really, really awesome broadcast. Thank you again. Kate, here is Kate's social media profiles. Please follow her and also subscribe to her newsletter. She pops out new newsletters all the time with recipes, or if she's gone to a conference recently or done a talk, she'll share a ton of knowledge. So she's always willing to share what she has learned and what she knows. So again, thank you, Kate. Thank you so, so much. This was very, very fun.
Great time.
Thank you so much. And is there anything else you want to say before I close this out?
No, just know that there's a lot of different reasons for constipation, and certainly a fiber-rich, plant-based, lots of plants in your diet is important. But don't put the onus on yourself that that's it. There's a lot of other factors, and work with your, GI doctor to find, the right treatments for the type of constipation you have. So remember, there's not just one type of constipation. There's 4 different types of constipation. So you want to talk to your doctor about those various types of constipation, whether it's chronic idiopathic constipation or slow transit, or more of a pelvic floor dysfunction, or more of an IBS-related constipation, because the treatment modalities may be a little bit different. So it's good for you to empower yourself and work with your GI team to really get the best treatment.
Excellent.
That's it.
Well, that was a lot. So thank you.
Oh.
It was so much fun, so much fun, so much. And I learned some new things too. So thank you so much. And again, thanks everybody for joining today. And we'll see you at another Facebook Live event. We have another one coming up in January, so keep your eyes out and sign up for my newsletter too, please. Follow me on social media as well, all at FODMAP Life on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. So again, thank you, Kate Scarlata. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.